I think the record thing giving you guys permission to record and Zoom. Let me see really quick. I think it has to be done before I create the class. Let me see. Yeah, I don't see any options for me to do that right now. I'll look into that so that you guys can record it on your guys' end. You can also get like a screen recorder and stuff, and I believe Windows has a built-in screen recorder. It's the game screen recorder. But yeah, I'll try to get that. Yeah, WinG. Oh, it opened up on my other screen though. Yeah, it does have the screen capture right there. Oh, it's got meeting controls too on it. Huh. All right. So since I'm already recording, so we finished off with Magic Pixies yesterday. So we did that. We turned that in, and what we had done is we added everything to our server manager on DC1. Right? I believe that was DC1. It looks like a DC1 there. So what I wanted to do is just show we can actually manage stuff from there. I'm going to close this really quick. We'll minimize it just in case I can go back to it. And I'm going to hop into mine really quick here. So last night, you guys might have, when my PM class, I saw them doing stuff and wasn't paying attention to the video when I was playing the video in class. I went up here and went the power on, and I saw machines that were on, and I just shut them all off and locked the server in the maintenance mode so that they weren't doing stuff, because some people were doing stuff in Windows 10, which Windows 10 is over and they've already taken the grades already. So that's all said and done. Game over there. So if you want to just see your stuff here, you can always just type like AM and it'll show our AM class. That's why we put AM on there. And that's why I did AM and PM on mine, or students are doing AM and PM. If you put AM and PM, it makes it easier to filter your stuff here so you don't see everybody else's. Or you can just do your initials and that'll show just your stuff right there. So it'll make it easier to find it. Turn mine on. So if that affected you guys, I'm sorry. Last night, I tried to I tried shutting off just their machines, and I put maintenance mode on, but that also would have prevented someone new from turning on a machine. It wouldn't have affected people who were already on in their machines. So but then when I restarted it so that it would speed up. Sorry about that. I just noticed, hey, you're not paying attention. You're doing stuff in Windows 10. You're definitely not going to get server stuff done if you're not paying attention to it. Because we're doing a lot more stuff in server than we did in Windows 10, right, guys? Let me in. Not by the hair of much, chinny chin chin. There's a lot of hair there. All right. Let's get into this mess. Actually, let's do it like this. Full screen. I hung a hammock up in my backyard yesterday across my two trees, but it had to span like 50 feet. I thought I was gonna snap 550 cord. I had to like triple it up so I wasn't on the ground. That was like a giant swing. All right. You can tell by my voice I'm not feeling too good today either, but let's get some fun stuff done. And Sean, remember your bar is on the left-hand side now. So it's not down here. It's over here. All right. Hey, Hyper-V Manager, how you doing? So since my machine was off, it's all my servers that have domain controllers on it might have broken NIC cards right now. So we're definitely going to check and make sure they're good to go. When you restart these, it should pause these and do everything. And you should also be able to see your networking right here on them. So right here, we've got our IP addresses right there. You see that? So it's kind of another, what's that on there? Sometimes you can see that 169 if there's something goofy going on. But since we are static, there shouldn't be any problems. And hey, even though we turned off updates, it's still trying to do updates. You see that? You need some updates. We turned them off, but this is how well. Remember I told you that Microsoft's going to me to you. Well, there it goes. And I bet you have Windows updates on yours also. It looks okay on that part, but we'll see. If we have any issues, it's going to be because that network card got busted from this restart. And so I'm going to connect the DC1 really quick. We got that all set up. And right here's where we left off. And now, first thing, does my network card say what it's supposed to? It does. amdomain.local, so that's a good sign. All this stuff looks okay. It says online. If these computers had an issue, it'd probably say Kerberos authentication error. Now, if I hit refresh, it should try to recommunicate with all those and make sure it's good to go. Now, for me to manage DNS, DHCP, WDS, I need to install those tools on this server manager to be capable of doing that. So, but we can't add and install stuff from here. So our read-only domain controller 1, we never actually set it up as a domain controller, but we did give it a naming scheme that let us know what should be on that, right? So when you're naming stuff, it is really good. If you're the one who's in charge, it's really good to give computers names that lets you know, hey, this is what's probably on that. Because right now, it doesn't seem like a big issue, but imagine you have 10,000 servers. And they all are just called server 1, server 2, server 3, server 4. And you have to look into a log or something to see what's on it, or actually log into it to see what's on it. At least if you have a naming scheme that says what the role of that server is, it's going to help you filter out, search, and find what you want. So you notice this has filters up here, right? So I could just say RODC, and it's only going to show me the names of RODC. Because I could have 1,000 servers in here. And I can manage them all from right here, from this, with this GUI. I can also manage them, right-click, and PowerShell into them too, right? So I can right-click, and I can go Windows PowerShell, and do all my PowerShell commands on that computer. But that helps me filter it out. That also helps me where I can group servers by what their jobs are or by what their locations are. So my RODC1, I'm just going to right-click on this, and I'm going to say Add Roles and Features. I could also just come up here and do Add Roles and Features. But the benefit to me doing it here is it's already going to highlight it when I go to it. So if I click on that and go Add Roles and Features, we got our first one with role-based features. We're not doing any remote desktop stuff for this. And see, it's already highlighted. And even from our IP scheme that we did, this is all in order, right? 1, 2, 3. So as an administrator, you're going to just start memorizing your IP addresses, this stuff. in case your DNS stops working. Kind of like on my server here, where sometimes the DNS lets us get the Tech House X3. Sometimes we have to type the IP address because it's a router managing the DNS and it's doing a lot of stuff right now. My router here is handling VPNs for Yvonne's class. So when they're doing their stuff, they actually have to use a VPN to get onto my network. You guys have the benefit. I have IP pass-through set up for you guys. So that IP pass-through is passing the public IP address to my server here. So the server that you guys are connecting with, the 1bserver.ddns.net, is actually, it has a public IP address. And it seems that I have a static IP address too, because it has not changed this entire time I've had my my cable, well, my fiber optics here. So with that said, I'm going to hit next because this is on the one I want, the RODC1. And again, I am not logged on to RODC1. I am logged on to DC1, but I'm managing it with my server manager. So I want to put an Active Directory domain services on that computer. And remember, RODC1 is a core computer, right? And I'm just going to click Add Features. Now remember, these features here, I would also, if I want to manage it here, I would need to make sure I have these tools, which are under features, installed on this computer so I can manage it. I'm not going to do that because this already has it on here because we already have an Active Directory on this computer. Hence, we have the tools. So I'm going to hit next. And we've been through this process before, so I'm just going to hit next again. But again, this is not happening on the computer that I'm actually interacting with right now. This is doing it to the other computer, our RODC. I'm going to hit install. Once this is done, I should be able to click the flag or click the link here, and it should tell me, hey, promote this to a domain controller. And we're going to do add to an existing, but this time we're going to click the read-only domain controller checkbox. We would use read-only domain controllers again in locations where we do not have staff. We do not have administrators at the location, and we don't want someone randomly sitting down at that computer and messing with our network. I mean, the most dangerous thing on your network is someone who doesn't know what they're doing and they just start randomly clicking everything. That's why we only give people enough permissions to do the job they need to do and nothing more. You always have that one person who's working at the company who thinks they're a computer person and all they are is Googling stuff and doing YouTube and doing random stuff, and they're the ones who cause all the havoc on your network. Just think of it as like traffic on I-35. Once you get to Austin. Last thing we need is bottlenecks, right, guys? Yep, it starts right at my house. They actually said that the worst bottleneck in the country is right there. Right where Round Rock, where that off-ramp onto the toll roads. One loop. Yeah. Because they have an on-ramp right where everybody's trying to get off-ramp, and it's a forced merger. It's like those suicide mergers in downtown Austin. You hop on, you can't see any cars coming until you're already getting into the lanes. All right, so it looks like more configuration is required. So you can see right now, I have the flag up here and I have the link here, promote this server to a domain controller. If everything goes as planned, I should just be able to click that. And I am still doing all you see right here, AM, PM, RODC1, SLS.am domain.local. That is the fully qualified domain name right there. It is interesting how it breaks the stuff up. So this is still looking at it a little bit here. It says no credentials. It's giving it. It's waiting. There we go. Knight Rider is over. So it's not automatically entering my credentials right now. So I'm going to have to do that. But it is say the domain. So if I had more domains here, I'd be able to select which one. I'm just going to do the admin. Now, we probably want to create our stuff, but again, we've just been doing basic setups, deployments. We haven't even gone into managing yet. So, I can't type. Administrator. Server 123, exclamation point, and it looks correct to my dyslexia. We'll see what happens here. Now it's going to retrieve the forest. There we go. So if we had multiple ones here, it would be listed. I'm just going to hit OK. And now you see my credentials here. AM domain / administrator. And we're adding a domain controller to an existing domain. We can also add more domains to an existing forest if we wanted to, but we don't need to do that. We've done this one. We've done this one. I'm going to hit next. And here's where we're going to click that read-only domain controller box. So right here, this is the important part, read-only domain controller. Once our night writer is done up here, so all it is syncing up and talking to it and making sure that we have the connection we need to do this. I just saw DNS stuff pop up. All right, there we go. Now I have read-only domain controller, read-only domain controller, RODC, default first name. So, and then we're going to put our recovery stuff, right? Our directory services restore mode. Again, that's for doing, in case we need to restore something on there, we boot in the safe mode and run a restore. You cannot do restores without being in safe mode. So I'm going to go server 123 exclamation point, and the same thing here. And the rest of this is just next, next, next. So delegate administrator accounts that are allowed to replicate passwords to RODC. It just says add AM allow RODC password replication group. Accounts that are denied from replication passwords to RODC. Built-in administrator, built-in server operator, built-in backup. So you see any of the local stuff does not have access to this. It has to be in the actual RODC password replicator group, and these guys are being denied. This is a read-only domain controller, and these ones are actually being denied, so people can't just sit down there and do stuff. I'm going to hit next. So we can install from media. Again, if this was a remote location and we did not have a very good network connection to our main site, we could have everything stored on a hard drive on a USB stick, and we can come here and we would put it in here and it would say verify, where it would talk. It would make sure information is correct. It would update the little things that needed updated, and then it would push it out. But for our purposes, we're going to say any domain controller. Let's say DC2 is the closest one to it. We'll say DC1, DC2, DC1. We're just going to say the DC2 is the one closest to it. And then hit next, just for practice purposes. This is all the same. NTDS, we talked about how Windows NT is where this legacy naming came from. NTDS, NT Domain Services, and System Volume. And again, this is the system volume of the Active Directory. And this is where it's going to store it on the hard drive of RODC1. So I'm going to hit next really quick. And then next again, this is just verifying that yes, we have everything we need. And again, our prerequisites, and hopefully nothing goes goofy, where it says we are good to go. So I'm going to hit install now. And I think I'll create an exercise for this one. I'm just going to call it Pass Me the Remote. Okay? Does that sound like a dumb enough name for my naming schemes? So it says replicating the scheme, replicating configuration. Securing machine. And it should be restarting soon. Configuring the DNS server services. So that computer right there at its location, the DHCP at that location would be pointing to that computer for its DNS. Because it would be looking for authentication at that location. We don't want to point it across the internet to talk to stuff. We're going to need VPNs and all kinds, and you can really quickly just bog down that. Unless you have a dedicated line for your servers and a dedicated line for your corporate internet for all your regular users, it's really easy to bog down internet when you have thousands of computers on a connection. So it says this server was successfully configured as a domain controller. I'm going to hit close, and I'm going to hit close here. And it's restarting right now. So see, it says cannot get roles and feature data. That computer is actually restarting right now. So we'll give it a second and let that restart. And then remember, we also have our host computer here that's technically on that network. If we domain join our host computer to the domain that we just created on here, we would be able to manage all of those from our host, which would be one of the benefits of having it on the internal. What is it? And if everything is working correctly on the other one, we would be able to click here. And I'm on my host computer right now. Change. Work group. I can change that to domain. And if I typed it right, it should ask me for credentials. Non-standard characters in my name. Okay. And then I would do admin. And now my host has now joined that. Now, remember, my host has two network cards. One's the internal and one's an external one. And my host actually has internet on it. I'm going to hit OK. And then OK. And then close. And it's going to restart my host. But I need to wait. So if I restart my host, it's not just restarting my host, right? It's going to restart all that stuff going on too. So let's just make sure that that's done. And now it says it's online. That has restarted. And everything's good. When I restart my computer, it should automatically pause everything that's going on right here. So I'm going to say restart now, and it should pause all those, restart the computer, and unpause them when it comes back online. That's one benefit to having all of those running in Hyper-V and even in VMware, because if those were actually hardware servers, it would take probably 15 to 30 minutes for that server to restart. So servers take a very long time to restart and post, because we're talking about 512 gigabytes of RAM. We're talking about terabytes or petabytes of storage. So to have all that stuff post takes time. So it's looking at posting like 2, 3, 4 processors, all that stuff. Once it turns on, it's good. So in Hyper-V, we're only resetting virtual hardware, which makes it much quicker restarts and recovery time. Now, if we actually have to restart the physical thing, now we're talking about turning stuff, each one of those on one at a time, set up scripts that make sure that not all those Hyper-Vs try to turn on at the same time, because even though the hardware can handle them all running, a lot of times it cannot handle them all turning on at the same time. It just sucks up way too many resources. So it'll turn one on wait till it throttles down, uses the resources it needs, and then turn on the next one and wait till that gets its resources and throttles down. So my computer is coming back online, and this is my host computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all that to our server manager, and we're going to call it a day for that. Where I'm going to let everybody get caught up, or if anyone's done with everything, let me know, and I can flip over a breakout group, and then we can do some management stuff and start messing with user accounts and start messing around with actually what we would do with what we have. Because right now we have a base. We have the basics of what we need to set up a larger network. We can now deploy server from WDS. We can now create users. We can now organizational units. We can now start planning, how do we want to lock stuff down with group policies? Do we want to set group policies to set up BitLocker on people's computers when it turns on? And because it'll back up their BitLocker stuff automatically at the server locations where we tell it to. So now we get to break down and start planning stuff. But for us to have a basic bare minimum, we have it here now, right? The read-only domain controller is kind of, it's an extra. It's not a necessary thing. But I just want you to understand why, when, and where you would use a read-only domain controller. Again, it's where you don't have management and you don't want people messing up your network. So I'm going to do Control-Alt-Insert because I'm in VMware right now. And that should give me my Control-Alt-Delete inside of my VMware. Remember, Control-Alt-End is the one for the rest of your stuff in Hyper-V. I believe I just logged into a local account too on accident, so we're going to see where we're going to have a problem with that. And then we'll log in with our actual admin for the domain, because it's very easy for you guys to confuse the two. So again, I'm on my regular computer, but now it's going to say I have AM domain local with no internet, and then I have network with internet on here. Close that. But I would definitely like to add everything to this. So I'm going to go to local servers right here. Actually, I'll go back to dash because everything's on the dash too. So I don't think I did it that way. So see, we did 2. We added roles and features. 3 is add other servers to manage. So when we do add other servers to manage here, that's what we did over here, and we just right-clicked on that, and it says add servers. So it's the same thing. And if I do find now, it's going to give me a list of all the servers I can manage, including the one I'm sitting on right now. But the one I'm sitting on now, it's only got Hyper-V. So technically, this one's my Hyper-V server. And it's good to go. This can actually run with everything else working together and sharing resources. So I'm going to come up and I'm just going to highlight everything. And go OK. And now on my all servers, see refresh failed. You'll see that a lot. Just don't worry about it. It happens all the time. So all my servers are now here. And I have Kerberos authentication error. Remember, I logged in as a local administrator. So my local administrator only has permissions on the computer I'm sitting on right now. It does not have permissions on the network. I am going to turn on my start performance counter on my local one. But see, it says Kerberos authentication error on everything else except the computer I'm sitting on. That's because I am not logged on as who I should be logged on as. So let's fix that. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change who I'm logged in as. Sign out. And it's very easy to make that mistake because all it does is show you the person that you logged into last right here. But what I wanted to do was go to other right there. Now it says AM domain. Also, we have that issue where if I type this, right, just like yesterday, when I hit that R, it's going to try to do a local login. So I want to say at amdomain.local, right? So that's how they want you to type it, and then our server will do. But check this out. You actually don't need to do the .local part. All right, just keep in mind in your book, it's not going to say this. On all your instructions, it's not going to say this, but it works. Another bug we ran into is when we're doing WDS, you could type anything you want as the domain. Like you just say at any like blah 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 random key stuff, and it just authenticated to install. Like we found that out when people were doing this last class, and that's on a real live network. That's not evaluation, which you guys are going to be using. You guys will be redoing blocks of knowledge, and blocks of knowledge is going to be the one you're building. And that one's actually real activated server. It's not an eval. So we won't have eval bugs. So we can see now that we've logged into it. We're actually logged in who we're supposed to. We're using a different user. So it's only going to show whichever you have added for the user you're logged in as. So everything that I added before was for the local user. So I'm going to have to add that stuff again. So I'm going to say add server, and I can just add the ones I want to manage. So I just hold shift and highlight everything and then hit the arrow right here to add them. And then okay. I should not have any Kerberos authentication errors now. Now I'm actually logged in with an admin of the domain and not an admin of the computer I'm sitting at, a local admin. So you can see online, and everything's getting updated here. You remember you can manage stuff by the IP address. It'll flip those in an order. You can manage manageability. Can I manage it or not manage it? And you can do it by the server name here, where it's going to go over. And remember, our naming scheme, because all this front stuff is the same, it's going to start using whatever's right here, DC1, DC2, RODC1, RODC2. That's why I name stuff the way I do, because it helps me organize it. And again, up here, I can say DC1, or just what's a domain controller? And it's going to anything that has DC in it. So your naming schemes can make it much easier for you later to find stuff. Because the computer I'm sitting at is not a domain controller, right? It's actually Hyper-V. So maybe I should have put HV or something in there to designate that that was Hyper-V. So whatever you think works best for you. Some of you guys have naming schemes and stuff because you've worked in the field already. Do we have Tyler in the house today? No, Tyler was at night class yesterday. Anyone in here have experience? What kind of naming schemes have you used if you do have experience? Let me know. Throw it around in chat, or feel free to say it on your microphone if you have one. Okay, Bailey's first time. That's cool. Does this make sense though? Why I would do that? Because a lot of people just do random names and stuff. So I was trying to, anything that makes your job easier is what I'm trying to show you guys. You need 70% to pass, and I want you to know the main stuff to get a job. So once you start to understand the functionality and the flow of this stuff, because it's kind of hard when you're getting like, oh, this is just random stuff. It's my first time seeing it. But we've just deployed stuff in a flow. We installed off of media. We created a parent image to deploy, and then we created WDS, where we can now push installs over the network. Now, what we'd want to do next is, now that we have the base of our network, we'd want to deploy workstations, right? So workstations would be our Windows 10, the first class we took. You guys should all be experts on now. We would put a Windows 10 Win image into our WDS, and then we could start pushing those out. We probably would want to create a custom one that's updated. And the next step would be to put how we can update stuff, right? Same order that we did stuff in Windows 10, where we set it up, we set up users, we migrated users. Now we would set up users on here in the Active Directory. And then we'd want to, all right, how are we going to back up, and then how are we going to lock everything down? Same order. We're just doing it on a larger scale now. So, and then it's kind of like OSI, but now this is my logical deployment order. How would I do this the most efficient way and less work for me? Because your salary, you don't get paid hourly, your salary. All right. So this is good for, we're going to call this pass the remote. So this is proof that everything's working here and I can see everything. So I'm going to call this our safe screenshot at this point. And this is from the host. This is the one that everything's actually running on. This is our big daddy. This thing goes down. This is all the eggs in one basket, right? So you might have saw like replication, Hyper-V and stuff. So in more advanced server classes, we can set up so there's Hyper-V running on multiple servers, and they're replicating, and they have local, like a storage and iSCSI storage set up, and on that iSCSI storage, they're all pointing to it. So if one of these servers goes down, the other server picks up, and we're just pointing to a name that's actually like a RAID. So think of it as like servers as RAID, where one server goes down, another picks up, or they're load balancing, or they're doing round robin, where when you log on, one server's handling the resources, next person logs on, a different server's handling their resources. So it's all a matter of trying to save money. So once you're like in the cloud and setting all this stuff up in the cloud, when you're in Yvonne's class, you're going to see where you pay per resource. So if there's parts of the day where people aren't really, you don't have much traffic, you don't want to pay for like 500 gigs of freaking RAM at that point. So you want them, hey, during these hours, I want this much RAM. During these hours, I want that RAM. So it gets crazy, right? And we have our monitor and stuff running now, so we should be able. We have our best practice analyzer going down here. So once there's enough stuff running, it's going to start showing down there. So, and I have to click on a server first. So let me click on DC1, because that actually has it running for a while, right? It's been running all night. So see, it's going to show my peak hours right here. We don't have anybody using these, so there's barely anything being used, right? But we would know, like, hey, maybe between 12 and 1 a.m., there's lots of people using this server, and then it throttles down. So we can go back and check this out and check our memory, check our processor. See, we're using a lot of memory, right? Of what we have. So we're using a little over half of what we've designated for it. We have 4 gig. But our processor, we're not using a whole lot. So we might think, okay, if this thing was doing a lot of stuff, we'd want to give it more memory, right? So that our 2, 3 now, memory does not scale. Memory is kind of one of those things like a hard drive. If you have like 2,000 terabytes of storage, or you have 1 terabyte of storage, that does not increase your speed, right? It only increases your storage capacity. Same here. Memory is a storage capacity. The only thing that's going to speed up the system is if this is bottlenecked, that's where it's going to speed it up. If we're running out of RAM and we're using all of our RAM. If we have just terabytes and terabytes of RAM, but we're only using 2, you're not going to get any performance gains out of that. So that's why we try to use what we need for the jobs that this is performing. So that's where the performance monitor comes into play here. And even our server has a performance monitor on it that we use for our VMware, and it lets me know where it's bottlenecking on resources for you guys. The major issue we have on our server is just the hard drives keeping up with everybody doing stuff at the same time. That's why it slows down. We have plenty of processor power and plenty of RAM. We have 512 gigabytes of RAM, so we usually don't run out of RAM. We usually start slowing down because everybody's working the RAID array on there. Crazy. Now, if we didn't want to have that issue, we would probably have a NAS that's fiber optic, and each virtual machine would have its own dedicated hard drive so that all you guys wouldn't be killing each other. But we don't have those kind of resources. So hopefully this helps. Let's get that screenshot really quick, and I'll create the new one just for this. We're just going to call this Pass the Remote for remote management. Now, I'm not going to go into the PowerShell stuff and all that. I just want you guys to understand this. I don't want to confuse you guys. I don't want you to become parrots right now. I'm just going to copy everything you do. I'm cool with you going through this and going through it again and do it again if you want, if you guys have the time. You guys are going to build a network together, and we will go over that probably tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Am I off on my days here? Yeah, Wednesday. So we'll go over let's build a network tomorrow, and that's should give you guys 2 weeks to work on the class project. So it's probably going to be a long day tomorrow, another long video, but this one's going to be like, let's think about this. We're going to draw it up. We're going to diagram it. We're going to say, what do we need here? What do we need there? And then we'll talk about WASUS. WASUS is one I didn't do yet. WASUS does your management, your updates management, and you have to set group policies. So let's grab this really quick. Let me expand. Snippet. And I'm just doing full screen. Come on, you. Go to my document. Am I on the right computer? I'm on the right computer. Oh, I'm on a different user. That's why. Remember, I'm logged into the Active Directory administrator now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to users because my template is actually on that one. See, I have an administrator and I have an administrator.am domain. You got to remember, who am I, right? Who am I? I'm logged onto the other one. So let me go to documents right here. And here's all my documents from previously. I'm going to open up my template. And hopefully it doesn't give me recovery. The template's only 10 kilobytes. I see you right there. Since it's a new user, it sees I'm a new user. So our next one's going to be, actually, now that we have something to work with, we're going to talk about administering what we have. Administering our users. So that'll be what we talk about when we go, all right, let's build a network. Again, I know this is very basic stuff for those of you with experience, but for those of you without it, hopefully this practice is helping you here. I'm going to go date, boom, assignment, pass the remote. And I just made this one up, but I think it's a good one. Oh, I just got rid of my freaking stuff on my clipboard when I did that. Yeah. All right, well, let me save this really quick. I'm not thinking properly right now. Save as. Oh, I just wanted to hit save. Go away. Save. And again, let me go back to that other directory. Sean. I didn't set up my save as default on this one, so just remember to make sure it's .doc if you're going to be using the one I'm logged into right now. All right, and I'm just going to pick one of these and then go like this. Pass the remote .doc 97 2000 XP. Save. And let me grab my screenshot again. What did he just do? Sean hit the screenshot button on his keyboard. That's what he did. All right. So we got pass the remote, Windows Server Administration Funnel, name, that, and the screenshot I want for this. Let's go create that really quick. Why did I close this earlier? Really? I'm going to steal it. Guys. Sorry. I'm lazy. I'm so lazy. I don't like typing. You guys have seen me type. It's not pretty. Really? You didn't take that? I'm feeling neglected by my system right now. Right click. Copy. Got it? Copy. Let's try this again. Are you kidding me? Why are you being mean to me? There we go. Rude. Remember I had an icon on my desktop on the other one that I did? What was the no me to? I just saw that. Sorry. I'm ignoring you. I'm a bad person. So if you guys have problems using the email in Canvas, that's my email. I tried doing server. Oh. Because it's my name. It's my name. It's my name too. And we have D. Sean at night. And I think we have another Sean too, don't we? I tell him, you can't be the Sean. I'm the Sean. All right, so let's create this assignment really quick. So we're down here. We're right here. We have Magic Pixies. And then Sean's a jerk. And he said, I want a new assignment. Add items. Create assignment. Add it. You want a name? Where's the name? Oh, right there. Take it. Pass the remote. Let's go to the pass the remote assignment. We go to edit. We pull out an example here. Again, I gotta go to the location because I'm not on that user. Open. All right. Did you load it? Did you load it? Are we good? Don't do what we did yesterday. All right. You good? Y'all want 100 points for this, right? Because that was complicated. Labs. Display as points. Do not count. No, it's gonna. Submission type. Upload. Online. File upload. Restricted. Doc. Unlimited attempts. This group. Nah. Next one's going to be a group assignment. Assign to everyone. Due. Tomorrow. See, I could be mean, guys. I could say it's available on this day until this day, and then you can't do it after that day. I could do that. Save and publish. There we go. We now have one new assignment added to this course. Pass the remote. So that's it for my recording today. That was about 1 hour. So you guys are free to finish it. If you are done, let me know. Done. And we might be able to just do some building some users and stuff for you guys in there. So if you're done, let me know. I'll probably have you create your own user accounts and stuff. Start messing with some GPOs, playing around in your systems really quick. And then I'm going to hand over the build your own network once you guys feel you're ready. Or till I feel you're ready. All right. So goodbye recording. We love you. It's been good. But it's exactly 10 o'clock now. And I'm done. Hey, let me out of here.